Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody, let's go.
Good morning. Woo! Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in great spirits. We got a man, oh man. I don't even know where to begin, but we gonna get into it, okay? Because we got some breaking news, and this is absolutely nucking futz, okay? I cannot believe that this is even a true story, and I'm wondering if Diddy has something to do with this, because this is insane. This is insane. So we got a shorter bit of amount of time because apparently there's going to be a press conference in about 15 minutes, literally. And my day is very slammed, so I'm trying to squeeze in this live show for you guys to break this news for you guys. It has happened to be a situation in which this breaking news, this press conference happened to drop right in my lap right about now. So we got some breaking news right now, and the title is not fooling you. Your eyes are not playing tricks on you. No, that dirt that just flew into that fleck of dirt that flew into your eye. Nah, it didn't change the words in the title. This is Real Deal Holyfield, and I'm wanting to know what the hell is going on here. This is insane. As soon as I think I got time to take a breather, the news continues to keep on newsing, and we are here for it, okay? And if this exposes and this drains the doggone swamp, then so be it. Drain it all. Hit that like button down below, please, and thank you if you can. That'll be greatly appreciated. I got some news for yo ashes. I got something for that okay? We got some news to get into. So hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you're watching on the TikTok, please watch and please hit that like. We have some roses up above. Show some love if you can gift. That'll be greatly appreciated. And let me tell y'all, we all knew, people been knowing about this Abercrombie and Fitch, y'all. And now we're getting the truth. So hit that like button down below. Hit that follow button if you're watching on TikTok, Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, Rumble. Show some love. Follow. I'm always giving you guys the fresh, hot things coming right out the kitchen, okay? Always fresh. So please be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't done that yet. Hit that subscribe button on my main channel right here on my YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, please and thank you. Go to my secondary channel, Dagnabbit, The Pascal Show Clips, because I'm coming out with new hot fire every day over there on the second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Show some love. Support the channel by hitting that join button down below, becoming a member. I see a new gift to a new member. I appreciate it. I'm going to take a look at that in a second. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon and my locals. Patreon.com/The Pascal Show and locals.com/The Pascal Show. And let's not forget, dagnabbit, I got this merch though. This merch be fire. Let's not forget about the doggone merch. PascalMerch.com. Okay? Still got time to get some of that Halloween stuff. Graphic tees and whatnot over there. Go to PascalMerch.com, please and thank you. Let's get into it, guys. We got to get into this. Oh, my damn. I have to do this right now. I know some of y'all are like, I hate the sound effect. I don't care, because this one's crazy. And I'm wondering, again, does Diddy have something to do with this? I'm going to keep asking that until we get some clarification here. So in about 13 minutes from now, we are about to hear something absolutely crazy, I'm sure. Because now they are saying this. I'm just going to show it. We're going to get straight to it, okay? Let's just get straight to the meat and potatoes, okay? This is pretty crazy. Former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO has just been arrested today on STing charges. Yes, and I'm not kidding. This is true. This is a true story. This just broke. And we're about to see a press conference, or as much as I can squeeze in here, very, very shortly. In about 12 minutes, we're about to see this. So this is absolutely crazy. We got a news clip as well from Fox News that we're going to be looking at here in a little bit. But let's get into this article, okay? Let's get straight into it, okay? Because I still am wondering what the hell's happening here. Aren't you? What the hell's going on? There's been allegations back in the day. There's been plenty of allegations back in the day. But that was like 10 years ago or so, from what I remember. I remember there was a whole boycott of Abercrombie and Fitch, and nobody was really rocking that stuff. In fact, do people still watch? Do people still wear Abercrombie and Fitch? Is that still a thing? Do people actually wear the Fitches? I don't even know what they call it. What's the slang for Abercrombie and Fitch? My Abercrombie and Fitch wearing brothers and sisters, holla at your boy. Let me know what it is, because I don't know. But do people still rock that stuff? Is it still in the mall? You know, that big box that has many stores in it, and teens go and hang out, and they all flirt with each other. It's like that watering hole. It's called a mall, just so you know. Yeah, not that thing that you go online and scroll through and it's on Amazon. I'm talking like you walk into a big box building, and there's Abercrombie and Fitch, their little cubby hole right there, which is a store. Does that still exist? Or do they just do online stuff? I'm curious. I never wore it in my life, never had any interest, okay? In fact, I was like, it was just a lot of scantily clad men in those ads. It made me feel a little weird. That's all. But anyway, and everybody that like wore Abercrombie and Fitch, like back in the day, would only just talk about Dave Matthews. That's the only thing. Like, Dave, I love Dave. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Hemp necklaces and everything. The Abercrombie and Fitch look, is it still the thing? Asking for not me, for another friend. But let's get into this, okay? So, former Abercrombie CEO, indeed, all right, has been arrested on ST charges. This is insane. And this happened today, because today is Tuesday. See, I know my days of the week. So former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries, his partner Matt Smith, and a third man, Jim Jacobson, were arrested today, Tuesday, as part of a criminal STing investigation by the FBI and federal prosecutors in Brooklyn. Sources familiar with the investigation told ABC News, the article I'm reading here. In the investigation involved whether the men sexually exploited and SA'd young men at parties they hosted in the United States and around the world, the sources said. First off, doesn't this sound a little bit familiar? But this one has to do with nothing but man's, not women's, not men and women's, man's. Just so you know. So they're being accused of SAing and exploiting young men at parties, not only just in the United States of these Americas, but also around the world. Let's continue on. Federal prosecutors acknowledged the investigation in January after alleged victims filed a civil lawsuit a year ago. Jeffries, who's transformed Abercrombie from a traditional Ohio outfitter into a powerhouse teen fashion brand, has been accused in civil lawsuits of exploiting young men for S parties for his own version of freak-offs. Interesting, right? So exploiting young men for these types of salaciousness at parties he hosted at his Hamptons estate in New York, London, Venice, and elsewhere with his partner Smith. The alleged victims have said they were recruited by a middleman, Jacobson. Don't forget, Jim Jacobson is also the person that's been arrested. What's wild is what they're accusing. that there was recruiters, model recruiters going online and trying to find male models to bring in so that they could exploit them in this type of carnal nature, get them involved in these type of parties. Can you believe that ish? And I'm asking again, where did he get this formula? Maybe there's no connection, but maybe there is. One of the plaintiffs, David Bradbury, a former crewman on the reality series Below Deck, said Jeffries made Abercrombie successful by the over sexualization of young men. Yeah, that's true. Like I said, you walk into Abercrombie and Fitch, or you just open up a magazine. The things that used to be called magazines, they're like, there was a thing called magazines back in the day. Moving on, you'd open it up and you just see dudes and just abs and chesticles and abs, right? And it's like, whoa, okay, I need to get on a diet now. You know, it's a little extreme, but yeah, it's true. So his lawsuit accused Jeffries, Smith, Jacobson, and Abercrombie itself for luring attractive young men under the guise of making them an Abercrombie model and then forcing them to take, wow, ain't that sound familiar? Take substances and then perform carnal acts. I'm just saying, look at this. This is the true story. But we're going to get straight over to Fox News and hear what they got to say about this. And he just sounds too chipper in this video. This reporter, it's got kind of like, good morning to you. That somebody just got arrested on ST charges, but it is what it is. Let's take a listen to this, ladies and germs. And also, please, I'm giving you the hot fire right now. That hot fire. Okay, so please hit that like button down below. Let's get it past 1K. Okay, we got a press conference in about 5 minutes. So I'm trying to blaze through this stuff as quickly as possible before they go into this press conference. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, crush it, crush it. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Of course, subscribe. And of course, you know, I got those roses things up above in the TikTok realm. So show some love. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get into this, babies.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox 10:15 on the East Coast and 7:15 on the West Coast. Do want to get into some breaking news that we are covering right now as Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, arrested on sex trafficking and interstate prostitution charges. That is according to a spokesperson for federal prosecutors. The information coming in just moments ago here. Now,
interstate pros. Just so you know, interstate pros, okay? This is devastating. And you know what? I'm going to say this too. We're finally starting, and if these allegations are absolutely 100%, this happens to men too, guys. Dag nabbit. This happens to men too. So finally, some people are finally looking at it. We're starting to finally see that, oh, it doesn't only happen to women, it also happens to men as well. And that needs to be acknowledged as soon as possible. It happens to men too. Oh, my Lord. And I guarantee you a lot of these individuals that have spoken out, said something about Jeffries and his little team, I'm sure they've been ignored. Because why? You're a dude. Nah, it's not happening to you, homie. It's happening. It's happening. Let's continue.
Now, details of the criminal charges not immediately available, but they do come after years of sexual misconduct allegations that were made in civil lawsuits and the media from young people who did claim that Jeffries lured them with promises of modeling work and then pressed them into sexual acts. Jeffries was apparently arrested in West Palm Beach, Florida. That is according to NBC News, CNBC, and other media outlets. Two others were also arrested. They have been identified as Matthew Smith of West Palm Beach and James Jacobson of Wisconsin in connection with those sex trafficking charges. Again, that is according to news outlets in that area. We know that Jeffries was the CEO of the New Albany, Ohio-based Abercrombie and Fitch from 1992 to 2014. Brooklyn-based U.S. Attorney Breon Pierce and FBI and police officials set to hold a news conference here at 12 p.m. Eastern time. That is in just about 2 hours.
Obviously, this is from a few hours ago because they broke this about an hour or so ago, and I just found out about this. Okay, but as you guys can hear, these men have a lot of splaining to do. They have a whole lot of splaining to do. Well, let's see if if the press conference has started yet. Yes, it has. Let's get into this, shall we?
Omar. We're here today to announce
Perfect
the
timing.
arrest and charging of 3 defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate prostitution. Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources and a dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison.
Woo! Hey.
The message from today's prosecution is clear. Sexually exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime, and doing so by dangling dreams of a future in fashion or modeling or any other business is no different. My office and our law enforcement partners will always prioritize standing up for victims, no matter their gender and no matter how powerful the wrongdoers think they are. We will hold them to account. As we allege in the indictment, between 1992 and 2014, Michael Jeffries was the chief executive officer of Abercrombie and Fitch. Abercrombie was a widely known clothing retailer with stores around the world. Aspiring fashion models knew that a place on one of Abercrombie's iconic ads could be the ticket to success in the modeling industry. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. The charging documents describe in graphic and disturbing detail the violent and exploitive acts these defendants perpetrated, for which they will now face justice in a court here in the Eastern District of New York. So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events. The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain acts, sex acts during the events, could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events.
Damn.
And they required the presence of staff during
Fitch.
the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over.
Fitch offs. Yep.
Also,
Fitch offs.
As
That's
alleged,
crazy.
on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in. Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive sexual and violent contact by body parts and other objects. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffrey, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015.
Woo!
During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash for commercial sex, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the sex events, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things. Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment, this interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men. And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Now, I want to thank the victims who have already come forward for sharing their stories. Prosecutions like this are really impossible without the bravery of victims who are willing to report what happened to them to law enforcement. But this office, the Department of Justice, and its law enforcement partners will continue to work tirelessly to protect victims from powerful individuals who use their wealth and their influence to exploit and harm others for sexual gratification. In addition to my team, I'd like to give special thanks to FBI Special Agent Amanda Young and NYPD Detectives Paul Byrne and Antonio Pagan, who have worked hard on this investigation in the pursuit of justice. I'll now turn it over to FBI Assistant Director in Charge, Denny.
Hamburger. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Dennehy, Assistant Director in Charge of the FBI's New York Field Office. Today's indictment highlights the abhorrent behavior of Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson. What's alleged in the indictment is not only beyond disturbing, dishonorable, and disgraceful, but simply put, it's criminal. In short, these individuals are charged with running a prostitution and international sex trafficking business using a combination of force, fraud, and coercion to induce victims into participating in their illegal operations. The alleged behavior occurred here in New York City and in multiple countries worldwide. The defendants allegedly preyed on the hopes and dreams of their victims by exploiting, abusing, and silencing them to fulfill their own desires with insidious secret intentions. Despite the alleged efforts of Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson to conceal their crimes, efforts that included threatening victims and requiring them to sign non-disclosure agreements, among other things, their plan failed. This case is yet another example of individuals using their wealth, power, or reputation to manipulate and control others for their own personal interests. I'd like to speak for a second to the victims in this case and others, both those who have come forward and those we believe are still out there. The FBI and our partners make it our mission to prioritize those who have been victimized by sexual predators. We know victims come from all walks of life. They're our neighbors, our friends, and members of our community. We won't allow these criminal acts to go unchecked. We know our agency, however, cannot combat this threat alone. And we remain committed to investigating and bringing these cases forward to prosecution with our partners. We have dedicated teams ready to listen to you and to advocate for you, and we have victim specialists available to provide the necessary resources you need. If you or someone you know is a victim in this case or any other, the number to call is 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at tips.fbi.gov. We are committed to ensuring you not only get the assistance you need to cope, but also that you're aware of your rights. I'd like to thank the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, Breon Peace, and the members of EDNY's Civil Rights Section and Long Island Division's Criminal Section. I'd also like to thank the NYPD's Detective Bureau and its Specialty Enforcement Division and Special Victims Division, as well as the FBI's Miami and Milwaukee field offices. And also, I'd like to thank the dedicated investigators and personnel from the FBI, NYPD, Child Exploitation, Human Trafficking Task Force. Once again, we are waiting to hear from you, and we're here to help you. The number to call is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Chief Ortiz.
This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy.
My name is Deputy Chief Carlos Ortiz. I am the commanding officer of the NYPD Special Victims Unit. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. The NYPD is committed to fighting for all victims of sexual violence. We stand here today with our federal partners as we continue that mission. Our continued collaboration allows us the necessary resources to ensure successful prosecutions. First of all, I want to thank Attorney Pierce, FBI Assistant Director in charge, Denny, and their staff, along with my human trafficking unit led by Captain Chase and Lieutenant Picarello for their diligent work in regards to this case. As evident by today's announcement, we hope our work is able to bring some sense of dignity back to these survivors. The NYPD encourages all survivors of sexual-based violence, including trafficking, to come forward and speak with us, regardless of gender, immigration status, race, or sexual orientation. Our investigators are equipped to handle all reports. Our joint federal teams remain committed to end all human trafficking. The mission and obligation of the NYPD Special Victims Unit is to provide a voice for those that feel unheard. We are here for you. Together with our federal partners, we will continue to fight for the victims of the city and all over the country. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions.
Yeah, please take the questions.
Thanks so much.
This is crazy.
Can you? The indictment says that this alleged conduct ended in 2015. Why did it take nearly a decade for you to come to this moment? And then did it just suddenly stop in 2015? And then, if you would also say a word about the intersection of the civil lawsuits with this criminal prosecution.
Yeah, so these prosecutions really depend, as I said earlier, on the bravery of the victims to come forward and tell their stories. That happened in this case. Once that happened, our team and our law enforcement partners investigated this case thoroughly and quickly, and we're now arriving at this day when we're charging the conduct. So I say to all victims, we're here, we will listen, we will investigate, and bring charges where appropriate. The intersection of the civil lawsuits, there really is, our investigation is based on our investigation, the facts, the evidence we find, and the law. And so the civil lawsuits don't dictate what we do or vice versa.
And do you believe the conduct ended in 2015, or that's just what's chargeable?
I will say, I think the best way to answer that is say this investigation remains ongoing. We encourage any victims or any witnesses to come forward with additional information. And if there's a need to bring further charges, we, of course, will not hesitate to do that.
I had a question about the events themselves. When they took place, were they like company sanctioned events, or did they at any point happen on company grounds? And about the John Does, were they employed at all by the company? Were they working in stores? Did any of them actually make it to be part of these like advertisements? Or were they just simply brought in for these purposes and then recycled out?
I can't go beyond the allegations in the indictment. We don't have evidence that this happened on company grounds, but I will not go further into who is aware where things happen beyond what is already in the indictment, including with respect to what happened after the events.
Hi there, thanks for doing this. Can you tell us how many victims there were in total? The indictment says there were 15 John Does, but how many did you interview?
I can't get into our interview process. We interviewed many witnesses.
Okay, how many?
As I said, their team and our law enforcement partners did a very thorough investigation into this activity. We have named 15 John Does, but as I indicated before, there may be other victims out there. We're hoping to hear from folks after this, and we will take action as appropriate.
How did your office first learn about these events and what was happening?
I think we became aware through media reports, which is not uncommon when you have media that reports on stories that relate to crimes, alleged crimes. We follow up and do our diligence. So,
thank you for doing this, Darla Miles, WABC. 2 questions. I think I want to clarify a little bit on Mark Morales' point. Does the indictment allege that the resources of Abercrombie and Fitch were involved in the furtherance of the sex trafficking, where the company itself would have any liability? And then secondly, generally, just from a sex victims and sexual violence and investigatory standpoint, we have this situation, these scenarios that are now victims are coming more forward publicly about power, control, manipulation of those who have aspirations. You have the Sean Combs case. you have this case. Are we finding that there are going to be more widespread investigations with regard to officials in power exploiting and manipulating people? Do we see like a trend happening where more victims are coming forward? So it's a twofold thing.
Yeah. So on the first question, we don't allege in the indictment that the resources of Abercrombie and Fitch were used in furtherance of this criminal activity. But what we do allege and acknowledge is that the fact that Michael Jeffries was CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch was utilized, and the potential of an opportunity at Abercrombie to be in an ad or things like that were some of the carrots that I think people perceived as what they would achieve by participating in this activity. On your second question, I don't know if I could say it's a trend one way or the other. I'm hopeful that to the extent there are victims out there who have been subjected to trafficking activity, abuse, exploitation, that they would be confident enough in their federal and state law enforcement partners to come forward. As I said before, we listen, we investigate, we take action, and we will not hesitate to bring charges. In this office in particular, and my civil rights team, I think we have a track record of bringing cases with respect to people in power who have taken advantage of and abused others. We prosecuted R. Kelly. We brought the NXIVM case. We don't hesitate to hold the powerful and the wealthy to account if they have violated federal criminal laws.
And just to clarify, when I say a trend from the power, you may have just clarified that, but with regard to, how widespread and pervasive it seems to be becoming externally facing with regard to those in power control, manipulating and exploiting people. Are you finding that your investigations are leveling off, or are they consistent, or are we finding that you are investigating more cases of this in this space?
As I said before, I think we stand ready to investigate any criminal conduct, whether it relates to rich and powerful or not so rich and powerful. If sex trafficking laws, interstate prostitution laws, et cetera, are violated, we stand ready to investigate and bring charges as appropriate.
What more can you say about the victims allegedly being recruited as heterosexual men to engage in non-heterosexual acts? And also, can you elaborate more on why this happened in the Eastern District?
Well, I think I'll take the second part first. I mean, venue is driven by the activity, as I mentioned earlier, and as alleged in the indictment. Much of this activity happened in New York, in the Hamptons in particular, which is a part of the Eastern District of New York. We have JFK International Airport, and travel comes to and through JFK, et cetera. So that's sort of the reason in part that we are bringing this case, among other reasons. There are victims here, et cetera. There's really nothing more beyond the indictment that I can discuss regarding why the choice was for heterosexual men, et cetera. I think I'm limited to what's there.
Mr. Prieston?
Yeah.
2 points of clarification. One, when you said media reports, did you mean media reports in 2013? 2023 last year?
I think, is that? Yes.
And then these 15 people who bravely came forward, had any of them had previously complained to law enforcement, for example, local law enforcement?
I can't comment on that. Any other questions? Jonathan?
Sir, on another topic, there's great public interest in this city regarding corruption allegations.
Are we going to take questions
City
on this topic? We're not answering any questions on other topics. We said that when the press conference started. Next question.
Damn.
Can you talk about what's going to happen next, as far as when they're going to be in New York and detention?
Yes, so they will have their initial appearances in courts, Florida, and I think Minnesota. And then they will be brought to New York or travel to New York to be arraigned. We're expecting that will happen either at the end of this week or early next week. In terms of the detention, we put in a detention memo outlining our position for Matthew Smith. We are seeking detention in part Because he is a dual citizen of the United States and the UK, the risk of flight are particularly acute with him. And for the other two, we're seeking substantial bail packages. If those aren't met, of course, we expect that they would be detained as well. Obviously, those decisions are up to the judges who do the arraignment.
So if I can try on topic, in regards to evidence, you said phones were taken from many of the victims prior. Do you have any video on top of or other evidence besides the story of the witnesses that would help you substantiate the argument?
We have substantial evidence. We have travel records, we have financial records, we have testimony of victims and other witnesses. So we think we have a lot of evidence that corroborates the charges in this case.
Last question. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
There's a press release, an indictment, and a detention letter on the table. When you go out, feel free to help yourself to it.
Oh my damn. Okay. Holy poop on a stick. Okay, guys. There's a lot going on here. And we're gonna talk about it briefly. I will hopefully I will get the paperwork here in the near future. When I get back from my busy day, and we will talk more about this stuff as we're going to break this down even more. And I know people on TikTok are wanting to know what's going on. I can't hear nothing. Well, I'm going to explain everything in just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a brief breakdown, but this, by the way, is absolutely shocking. Somebody said it in the chat and I love it. They did their own versions of freak offs, which basically were, somebody just called it a Fitch off, which, by the way, yeah, it's a Fitch off. Okay. So we're going to be calling them Fitch offs from this point on, just so that you guys are fully aware. Now, if you appreciate me giving you guys this breaking news, please do me a favor, hit that like button down below, crush it. Let's where are we at? Where are we at with the likes, man? Where are we at with the likes, man? Hold on. Oh, we can get it to 1K. Let's get it to 1K really quick. Okay. Hit that like button down below, please. Okay. The Aber off, Fitch off, whatever. You know what I mean? You choose what you want. I'm going with Fitch off. All right. But hit that like button down below, please. And thank you. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on all my platforms. OK, don't forget to subscribe. Go to my secondary channel. I just put up there's a new video that just came out. I wasn't planning on this happening right now, this breaking news. But there is a new video revolving around the cases, the lawsuits revolving around Diddy as well. And there some of these celebrity names, all of the celebrity names that are mentioned, or at least behind pseudonyms, they may be released very soon, made by a judge, which is absolutely crazy. So go check that out when you get a chance. But be sure to subscribe to both channels, please. And thank you. We're this close to 150,000 on the main channel. So please subscribe. But this information here is pretty crazy. They literally had their own versions of freak offs, Fitch offs, okay, which is insane. They would literally turn, and they said it like I educated you guys about the casting couch. Some of y'all were like, what is a casting couch? Well, a casting couch is basically like, hey, you go in for an audition, and then they'll sit there, and it will be a quid pro quo. Hey, you do a little something for me, in this room on this couch, and then I'll give you the gig, or I'll give you the role. You see what I'm saying? And that is what a casting couch is. That's what they literally said in this press conference, that they use this casting couch to an unbelievable level, to the point where they had another person, this Jim Jacobson, who was the recruiter, kind of like Diddy. They would have him go out, find these young men, and try them out himself. Yeah. He would engage in whatever the hell he wanted to engage in. And of course, in exchange with promises that guy was going to be in the Abercrombie and Fitch ads or might be on the cover or whatnot. Okay. Which is absolutely crazy to say the least. They used not only just force, but fraud, coercion to get their victims. Like I said, a lot of empty promises, a lot of BS lies, basically saying, hey, I will do this, this, and this. You will do this, this, and this. And if you do those things, we will make you the top, make you one of the top models for Abercrombie and Fitch, or you'll be featured in a spread, so on and so forth. Okay. Let's not forget that other stars like Ashton Kutcher, Channing Tatum, and the other sort have been Abercrombie and Fitch models before they found their success. Just so you know. And I think it's a little bit more interesting that we're looking at Ashton Kutcher again. Isn't that a little weird? It could just be a coincidence, but at the same time, seems a bit odd. Moving on, though. I'm not accusing. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, do the math. Also, yes, Jennifer Lawrence, Taylor Lautner. There's been a bunch of people. Yes, bunch of people, okay, that have been involved in those things. But let's move on. These models were told to attend these particular Fitch offs to further their careers. If they don't go to these Fitch offs, they do not proceed in success. They get basically blackballed, stopped from being able to be the model that they want to be. Or, hey, you go into modeling, it could turn into a movie deal. Somebody might go, I like his look. I want him in the next WB miniseries or whatever the hell is on TV nowadays for the teens. But that's very interesting. You go to these Fitch offs, it will further your career. If you don't go to these Fitch offs, you don't have what it takes. But again, you had Jacobson, who was the recruiter. He would go out, find these young men. Then he would test drive these young men. And then they would be sent out to various corners of the world, in places in the United States, all the way out to Great Britain, to Italy, across state lines, overseas, to participate in these types of parties. Here's the other thing that's very wild as well, is that one, they were made to sign NDAs. Doesn't that sound familiar as well? They would be plied with certain types of substances that would make them feel some type of way. That would make them dizzy or whatever, make them a little bit more easier to participate in these types of Fitch offs. Here's the other thing too. This is the thing I thought was very fascinating, and I never heard anything like this before. Okay, but they said these individuals, these young men, would be injected with something that would make them rigid, make them go from 6 to midnight, especially when they're not into it. They didn't want to be in there, but they would be injected with this thing that would make them hard as a rock. And then also on top of that a lot of this, all of this happened within a 7-year bracket between 2008 to 2015. This is what they say here. I see another article that's saying 2009 to 2015, but they said in there 2008 to 2015. So they would have these straight up Fitch offs in various places in the world. And it was these 3 men that were putting all these things together. Yeah, they would have organized events, Fitch offs, in England, France, Italy, Morocco, St. Bart's, and New York. This was all 3 of them putting this together. They employed coercive, fraudulent, and deceptive tactics in connection with the recruitment, hiring, transportation, obtaining, maintaining, solicitation, and payment of these men to engage in commercial carnal acts. The men who attended these events allegedly were led to believe that it could lead to modeling opportunities and help their careers, or quote unquote, that not complying with these requests for certain acts during these Fitch offs could harm their careers. The men were required to sign a non-disclosure agreement and surrender their wallets and cell phones during the events. Doesn't that all sound a bit familiar, ladies and germs? I'll tell you what, damn right it sounds familiar. This is the reason why I'm wondering, did Diddy snitch? Did Diddy snitch? Diddy though? Did he snitch? Or is this just happens to be another person going down? And this guy right here is the guy. Eesh. Sunscreen. But this is the man. Y'all, SPF something. But this is the man. This is Mike Jeffries, former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. And I'm wondering, yeah, he looks rough in this photo. And that's the reason why I picked it, because he looks rough. Okay. But I'm wondering about this, though. Does this have any connection with Diddy? I know some people be like, yo, man, you stretching, bro. You stretching with that one, bro. Maybe I am. But there's something about it that just feels, it's just another STing situation. Now, that's why the reporters were saying, why now? Why 10 years later? Because the stuff happened in 2000, it ended in 2015. So why now? Oh, we just got some things that just came to our attention. Okay. So Diddy snitched? Did he though? Or not? Let me get some of these super chats here real quick. Tired as a mother. Sent an email, Diddy party pics with research. Yes, I'll take a look at that a little bit later. Thank you so much. Rianne, thank you so much for gifting 1 membership. Thank you so much, Rianne. Lisa, thank you so much. Love your channel. I love you too. Appreciate you and your support. Thank you so much. Carbonized. Evil discriminates less than humans do. It's why we must choose love, care, and kindness. I agree 110%. Always choose love. Okay? Pierre, remember Abercrombie when they were criticized for hiring young white girls and boys with a specific look? Makes sense now. Yeah. Because if you still look at some of the ads on Abercrombie, it is a lot of a very specific demographic, very specific look, and all that. I mean, I didn't see. All I'm saying, I didn't see no black people rocking Abercrombie when it was popular. But that's not the. It's the same thing as J. Crew. Same thing as J. Crew. Remember, they would have those catalogs mailed in and all that, and you can look into the catalogs, and in those catalogs, yeah, J. Crew's the same doggone thing. They weren't catering to nobody except white. Okay, just keeping it a buck, y'all. Just keeping it a buck. Just kidding. Thank you so much. Sadly, this issue is not limited by politics, age, race, religion, jobs, or economic status. It's endemic all over the world. I wish I knew the cure. Me too. Because if Diddy was doing his own version of Fitch offs and Mike Jeffries was doing his own version of freak offs, then who else was doing some sort of version of a freak off or a Fitch off? That's what I'd like to know. And that's terrifying if you really think about it. There is other versions of this. The Epi, I can't say his name, unfortunately, but you know who I'm talking about. The EpiPen and his parties on his island. Wasn't he doing some sort of version of his own freak offs? Where do they all get this, guys? Where did they all get this? It's creepy. I can prep too. Let's start with not calling people daddy. Gross. Yeah, I don't know who's calling who daddy in the chat, but yeah, we're not calling anybody daddy. That's weird. That's weird. At a certain age, you stop calling your own dad daddy. Right? Right. Because if you're still calling your dad daddy, that's weird. Daddy is like, why is that? You're a grown woman. You're grown. You have kids of your own and you still calling your dad daddy? That's weird. That's weird. Pierre, thank you so much. As a survivor, I find these prosecutions cathartic. I bet you do. I bet you do. I'm telling you, this swamp, this proverbial swamp, is slowly but surely getting drained. You have Diddy locked up. Now you got this man locked up. And you know for a fact, there may be other people connected to this situation that are about to get exposed as well. Wait for it. It's coming. And it's going to be wild. Nicole B., thank you. Do you think New York City mayor helped provide undocumented buildings for these freak and Fitch offs? Okay. That's a good question. Since he liked breaking building code rules, hit the like button. Absolutely. Hit that like button, y'all. I mean, anything is possible, y'all. Anything is doggone possible. And Mimi, thank you so much for this super sticker. I really do appreciate it. Anything is possible when it comes to this situation. Real talk. But is there a connection? They have not connected the dots with the mayor. Not yet, at least. I mean, obviously, he's got his own set of problems in New York, using money, getting paid to do certain things and all of that, right? Now, a piece of the puzzle. What came first, the Fitch off or the freak offs? That's a very good. Well, obviously, it'd be the freak offs. But we don't know for sure how far back these Fitch offs were. If they went as far back as the early, as in the late 90s, then this would be the question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, for show. I have questions too, guys. I definitely have questions too. But unfortunately, guys, I gotta hop off here. That's the show. We know this information. When I'm going to try to get some paperwork, we're going to look into this and deep dive into all of this. But again, this is massive information. Massive. And there's going to be some serious explaining, not only for Mike Jeffries and his team of cohorts, but other people that may be connected to this thing. And the other thing is right now they're saying that 15 individuals, 15 victims have stepped forward. Wait for it, because there's going to be more men that are going to step forward and say something. And it's going to be wild. There were allegations back in the day about Abercrombie and Fitch. And then it just dissipated. It just kind of disappeared. But now all that stuff is getting unearthed all over again. It's going to be wild when that information drops. Some people who have been whistleblowers about Abercrombie and Fitch are probably jumping up and down, saying, I told you guys, I was telling the truth, and nobody believed me. It's going to be a wild one, guys. This is going to be a wild one. Get ready for it. It's going to be insane. So hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Hit that like button if you're watching on TikTok. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Follow me on all my platforms, please, and thank you. So don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscription over there on my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips, please, and thank you. I just put out a new video revolving around Diddy. You got to check that one out, please, and thank you. Make sure you subscribe here, though. And make sure you have the notification bell set to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random, as everything has been breaking as of late. So please do me that favor. All right? Let's not forget, check out my Patreon, check out my locals, check out PascalMerch.com. Okay? Anyway, guys, it is time to get going. We'll be back talking about all of this and then some. Hopefully, I'll bring a friend on, legal friend on the show to talk about this more a little bit later on this afternoon. But it's time to get going. Much love to you guys. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. We'll talk soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.